बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम. दिस इज़ टोफल सीरीज़ फॉर द बिगनर्स. आज हम इसमें लेसन में वर्बल इडियम्स को स्टडी करेंगे इन डेप्थ. सो विदाउट फर्दर ड्यू लेट्स स्टार्ट द लेसन. So verbal idiom is actually a group of words which containing a verb that has a meaning different from the meaning of any individual word within that idiom. So it's a whole list of verb series. I would suggest कि आप इस तमाम verbal idioms में हर slide पे pause करके इसके जो meanings हैं और जो इसके examples हैं उससे पूरा sense लें and try to incorporate in your vocabulary, in your writing and in your speech. So it will be a good boost to your vocabulary. So starting off with the first one, break off, which means end. And example is, as a result of the recent unprovoked attack, the two countries broke off their diplomatic relations. Next, bring up means raise and initiate. Example is, the country commissioner brought up the heated issue of restricting on street parking. Next, call on. It has two meanings. Ask, which example is, the teacher called on James to write the equation on the blackboard. And it also means visit. The new minister called on each of the families of his party in order to become better acquainted with them. Next, care for. It has two meanings. One is like, for example, because Maria doesn't care for dark colors, she buys only brightly colored clothes. It also means look after. My neighbors asked me to care for their children after school. Next, check out. It has two meanings, borrow books and investigate. For example, I went to the library and checked out 30 books last night for my research paper. And when it comes to meaning of investigate, example is, this photocopy machine is not working properly. Could you check out the problem, please? Then comes check out for. It means leave. For example, we were told that we had to check out of the hotel before 1 o'clock or else we would have to pay for another day. Next, check up on. It means investigate. The insurance company decided to check up on his driving record before insuring him. Close in on means draw nearer or approach. For example, in his hallucinatory state, the addict felt that the walls were closing on him. Next, come along with. For example, it means accompany. For example, Jim came along with his supervisor to the budget meeting. Next, come down with. For example, it means become ill with. For example, during the summer, many people come down with intestinal disorders. Next, count on means depend on or rely on. For example, Maria was counting on the grant money to pay her way through graduate school. Next, do away with. It means eliminate or get rid of. Because of the increasing number of problems created after the football games, the director has stopped to do away with all the sport activities. Next, draw up means write or draft. For example, a new advertising contract was drawn up after the terms had been decided. Next, drop out of means quit or withdraw from. For example, this organization has done a great deal to prevent young people from dropping out of school. Next, figure out means solve, decipher, interpret, understand. These all meanings go for the figure out. For example, after failing to figure out his income tax return, Hall decided to see an accountant. Next, find out means discover. For example, Erin just found out that her ancestors had come from Scotland, not Ireland. Next means get by, means manage to survive. Get by means manage to survive. Despite the high cost of living, we will get by on my salary. Then, get through has two meanings. One, finish. For example, Jerry called for an earlier appointment because he got through with his project sooner than he had expected. Get through also means manage to communicate. For example, it's difficult to get through to someone who doesn't understand your language. Get up has two meanings. Arise. For example, Pete usually gets up early in the morning, but this morning he overslept. Get up also means organize. Paul is trying to get up a group of square dancers to go to Switzerland. Next, give up means stop or cease. For example, Helen gave up working for the company because she felt that the employees were not treated fairly. Next, go along with. It means agree. For example, Mr. Robbins always goes along with anything his employers want to do. Next, hold on to. For example, it means grasp, maintain. Example is, despite moving to the Western world, Mariko hold on to her Oriental ways. Next, we have hold up, which has three meanings. One is rob at gunpoint. It means, for example, the convenience store was held up last night. Second example, endure, withstand, pressure or use. For example, Mr. Jones held up very well after her husband's death. Hold up also means stop. For example, last night's accident hold up rush hour traffic for 2 hours. Next, keep on. It means continue. For example, I keep on urging Rita to practice the violin, but she doesn't heed my advice. Next, look after. It means care for. For example, after my aunt had died, her lawyer looked after my uncle's financial affairs. Next, look into. It means investigate. For example, she's looking into the possibility of opening a drugstore in Dallas as well as in Fort Worth. Next, pass out, head out. Pass out, hand out. It means distribute. For example, the political candidate passed out campaign literature to her co-workers. Next, pick out means select, choose. For example, the judges were asked to pick out the essay that showed the most originality. Next, point out, it means indicate. For example, being a professional writer, Janus helped us by pointing out problems in style. Next, put off means postpone. Because Brian was a poor correspondent, he put off answering his letters. Next, run across. It means discover. While rummaging through some old boxes in the attic, I ran across my grandmother's wedding dress. Next, run into. It means meet by accident. For example, when Jake was in New York, he ran into an old friend at the theater. Next, see about. For it means consider or attend to. For example, my neighbor is going to see about getting tickets for next Saturday's football game. Next, take off means leave the ground to fly. For example, our flight to Toronto took off on schedule. Next, take over for. For example, it means substitute for. For example, Mari had a class this afternoon, so Jen took off over for her. Next, talk over means to discuss. For example, the committee is talking over the plans for homecoming dance and banquet. Next, try out. It has two meanings. Test. For example, General Mills asked us to try out their new product. It also means audition for a play. For example, Marguerite plans to try out for the lead in the new musical. Next is turn in. It has two meanings. Submit. For example, the students turn in their term papers on Monday. Its second meaning is go to bed. For example, after a long hard day, we decided to turn in early. It was all about the verbal idioms. I hope you have made good notes of each one of them, so that you have a good vocabulary both for writing and for your speech. So now we dive deep into the exercise. इस exercise में आपने incorporate करने हैं your 2 or 3. Now you have in every sentence, this is an exercise of about 35 questions. यहाँ पे आपने अंडरलाइन जो आपके पास वर्ड्स हैं, आपने इनको इसकी जगह, इन वर्ड्स की जगह इनकॉर्पोरेट करना है 2 or 3 word verbs. Make all the necessary tense changes as per need, right? So आपने अंडरलाइन वर्ड्स के हिसाब के मुकाबले में सही वर्ड को incorporate करना है, and plus it should agree with the tense of the sentence as well. So I'll be keep shuffling to the questions, and you just make good answers of each, and then in the end we will dive into the answers. So it's an exercise of about 35 questions. So just pause your video and answer each one of them. Here we have more 5 questions. Five more questions on your way. You have to change these underlined bolded words and make a 2 or 3 word verbs. And then more questions on your screen now. So for those who are done with an exercise by now, we can start off the answers. So starting off with the first one, Louis does not like peas unless they're mixed in with something else. So we had to change this word like, which was underlined. So the answer is Louis doesn't care for peas unless they are mixed in with something else. So we changed this word like with the idiom care for. The second question is because of the shortage of funds, we will have to eliminate all extracurricular activities. So we have to remove this eliminate. So the answer is because of the shortage of funds, we will have to do away with all the extracurricular activities. Question 3. Many teenagers quit school before graduation and regret it later. And the answer is many teenagers drop out of school before graduation and regret it later. Question number 4. Mike and Mary Ellen will be very happy when they finish writing their book. So the answer is Mike and Mary Ellen will be very happy when they get through writing their book. Question 5. Marcia was so upset by her fiancé's disloyalty that she ended their engagement. And the answer is Marcia was so upset by her fiancé's disloyalty that she broke off their engagement. Question 6. The local convenience store was robbed last night and $225 was taken. The answer is the local convenience store was held up last night and $225 was taken. Here comes question 7. Thomas Jefferson was one of the men responsible for writing the Declaration of Independence. And the answer is Thomas Jefferson was one of the men responsible for drawing up the Declaration of Independence. Then comes question 8. I am trying to interpret this writing, but it's not easy. The answer is I am trying to figure out this writing, but it's not easy. Then comes question 9. Continue driving at 55 miles per hour if you want to save gasoline and prevent accident. The answer is keep on driving at 55 miles per hour if you want to save gasoline and prevent accident. Question 10. Mrs. David asked me to serve as chairman of the entertainment committee. The answer is Mrs. Davis called on me to serve as chairman of the entertainment committee. Then comes question 11. Pete promised to stop smoking immediately. The answer is Pete promised to give up smoking immediately. Question 12. The police are approaching the robbers' hideout. And the answer is the police are closing in on the robbers' hideout. Then comes question 13. Maria Elena will take care of the neighbors' children while they attend the school meeting. Answer is Maria Elena will look after the neighbors' children while they attend the school meeting. Question 14. Joey became ill with the measles after just before his scout troop went to camp. The answer is Joey came down with the measles just before his scout troop went to camp. Question 15. Mrs. Lastinger will substitute for the history teacher who is out of town. So the answer is Mrs. Lastinger will fill in for the history teacher who is out of town. Question 16. The mountain climbers grasped the rope tightly to avoid falling. The answer is the mountain climbers held on to the rope tightly to avoid falling. Question 17. We plan to investigate the possibility of spending a week at the seashore. The answer is we plan to look into the possibility of spending a week at the seashore. Question 18. My mother distributed candy to the children last Halloween. The answer is my mother passed out candy to the children last Halloween. Then comes question 19. The manager said we had to leave the motel no later than noon. The answer is the manager said we had to check out for that motel no later than soon. Question 20. Mike just discovered that his passport had expired 3 months previously. The answer is Mike just found out that his passport had expired 3 months previously. Question 21. When buying apples, remember to select only the firm red ones. The answer is when buying apples, remember to pick out only the firm red ones. Question 22. We were counting on a raise to pay, but we will have to manage without it. The answer is we were counting on a raise to pay, but we will have to get by without it. Question 23. Rita will accompany her sister to the skating palace on Saturday night. The answer is Rita will come along with her sister to the skating palace on Saturday night. Question 24. The tour guide indicated the historical monuments of the city. Answer. The tour guide pointed out the historical monuments of the city. Question 25. I knew I could rely on them to get the job done. The answer is I knew I could count on them to get the job done. Question 26. The dance had to be postponed because of the bad weather. And the answer is the dance had to be put off because of the bad weather. Question 27. I accidentally met an old friend in the shopping center last week. The answer is I ran into an old friend in the shopping center last week. Question 28. The manager said he would consider hiring another secretary to take care of the backlog of work. Now comes question 28. The manager said he would consider hiring another secretary to take care of the backlog of work. The answer is the manager said he would see about hiring another secretary to take care of the backlog of work. Question 29. The last night Mr. Robbins raised the issue of student parking on the city streets. Answer is last night Mr. Robbins brought up the issue of student parking on city streets. Question 30. Henry was so upset at the sight of his injured daughter that he fainted. The answer is Henry was so upset at the sight of his injured daughter that he passed out. Question 31. Before making a decision on the project, the board of directors decided to discuss the matter. And the answer is before making a decision on the project, the board of directors decided to talk over the matter. Question 32. Procter & Gamble is testing a new product and has sent everyone a sample. The answer is Procter & Gamble is trying out a new product and has sent everyone a sample. Question 33. All budget proposals had to be submitted by last Friday. And the answer is all budget proposals had to be turned into by last Friday. Question 34. What time did you waken this morning? And the answer is what time did you get up this morning? And the final question, be careful of speeding cars when you cross the street. And the answer is watch out for speeding cars when you cross the streets. So this was all about the lesson about verbal idioms. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, like my videos and share with your friends and family. Thanks for watching.